Hey yo, welcome to Scholar Shots. Let me make sure my audio is okay. I feel like it's really loud. don't wanna get crazy here. My name is Kara, and I'm going to be helping facilitate some conversation with Carlos Valadez today. Carlos, introduce yourself to people.
Yeah, so my name is Carlos Valadez. I'm the director of Scholar Success for Scholar Shot, which Scholar Shot is that nonprofit organization to help students go to college and graduate on time with little to no debt.
Yeah, and they mean it when they say it too, which is what is so amazing. That is one of the top priorities there. And that's what we're talking about today. So if you're joining us, then that means that the headline caught your attention, FAFSA. And, as Carlos can, validate, people always have questions about FAFSA because it's downright confusing depending on who you are and what you're doing. And this year, especially because there's been a lot of changes and there's been a lot of, I think the polite way to say would be kerfuffle. So let's talk about what's happening right now. Go ahead and give us an update, Carlos, on FAFSA and SAI.
Yes. So as many know that this year they released a new FAFSA to make it a better, more streamlined process, make it easier for students and for parents to fill out. Currently, it's been a little bit of a hassle and struggle for a lot of different ways because either students have been having difficulty getting their parent to, or contributor as they call it, to fill out the form, or there has been issues with either connecting with IRS and all of that fun little jazz. And so there definitely is a lot of things going on with FAFSA in this current state. But I want to definitely discuss a little bit what is an SAI and what is that specifically all about? What does that mean for students and parents and families as they are trying to consider if the student should go to school or not, or figure out where is the best start. And so basically the student aid index, which is the new form of the EFC. Before, FAFSA used to produce a student aid report, which produced the EFC, which was an expected family contribution. But this year they switched that up to have the SAI, student aid index. The differences between EFC and the student aid index, this year the student aid index will show a negative number. Now, certain students might have a positive number due to the overall family income size and what that looks like. But if students have a negative number, it doesn't necessarily mean that the student is in trouble or in any form of problems. It's showing the universities that you have a need to go to school, a financial need to go to school. And so a negative number is essentially a good thing to look at because it means that you will more than likely receive the full Pell Grant. Now, certain families might have more than one student going to school, and this is what tends to be a little bit different from FAFSA back then to FAFSA now. FAFSA now doesn't give essentially a sibling discount. Back then, old FAFSA, EFCs were divided amongst who was going to school. Now this year, if you have 2, 3, 4, 5 siblings going to college, it's going to show the same number no matter what. And so this can definitely affect a little bit of what students might be receiving according to their free monies that they might get from their schools.
Okay, so now that we have an update for that, and I think that people are sort of digesting this. I know that it was hard to get on and get off, that sort of a thing. We've gone over our update. Let's talk about some tips that you have for people, because even though that you say there is no deadline, there kind of is a deadline if you really want to make sure you're setting yourself up for the most success.
Exactly. I think it's very important to understand the differences between what is a deadline and what is a priority date. Priority dates are dates that for the state of Texas, it's March 15th, where if a student applies by then, they're essentially kind of getting in the front lines of being eligible for funding that is available to them. Anything after that, more than likely, funding may not be available for students. And so the sooner the students can actually complete the whole FAFSA in total, which is their part and the contributors part, the better it'll be to put them in the line to receive funding from their desired institution. Now, this is where it's very important for students to be able to understand their school's dates and deadlines as well, because certain schools might have a deadline that might be sooner than March 15th or later than March 15th. And what does that all mean for you? Really, you should really be abiding what is the earlier deadline the better, because with financial aid and financial assistance, it's always going to be a first come first serve basis. And so currently in this current season of FAFSA, um, schools are not receiving FAFSA information until early to mid March. And so this is something that you really got to be very aware about. You got to do as much as you can to get ready to get the funds that you need to get.
Is that what you mean when you say spring semester is the money semester?
Yes, exactly. So the spring semester is essentially the money semester because this is where like students really focus a lot on doing the FAFSA application or TASFA for the state of Texas, and Texas application for state financial aid for students who are who don't fall under FAFSA designation. And this is basically the semester where students are applying for scholarships, figuring out where to start looking and whatnot. So students really should be researching and applying to multiple different scholarships that they may be eligible for. Even if you're only there's only one thing that you might be eligible on the qualifications, still apply. You never know. The more effort that you put in applying these scholarships, the higher the chances of you getting funding to go to school. And that's what's very important because school is very expensive and it keeps getting more and more expensive every single year.
When it comes to FAFSA and your experience, and I don't know if you can give me like an estimate, but how long does it typically take to complete from beginning to end?
Right, and so it really depends on the person. If it's a student, and they're only doing their application, it could probably be done within 15 minutes, maybe less. But when you're adding on the contributor or the parent situation, that can actually lengthen the process a little bit more, because when it comes to the application, both the student and the contributor need to have an FSA ID or official login by the studenta.gov website. In order for you to receive that, you need to verify identity. Now, there are some students whose parents are not U.S. citizen or permanent residents of the United States, and so there's an additional process that they have to go through in order to identify their identity, so they can electronically sign for that FAFSA. And we're seeing a lot where students who are under that specific situation that they cannot complete their current FAFSA because they're still trying to get their parents' official login so that the parent can sign their portion of the application. And so we are seeing where applications are being done faster and according to the perfect scenario, which is either between 15 and 20 minutes. Then we're seeing students who still are not completed, and they started when FAFSA originally launched, which is January 1st.
That makes a lot of sense. Once again, it goes back to the whole preparation and opportunity equals success. So preparation being that important.
Exactly.
When you say follow up with schools and complete your acceptance, what kind of follow up do you mean?
Right. So obviously, first off, students, do the most that you can do that's within your control. If you know you need to still apply for FAFSA, start doing that. That's in your court. There are certain things that are not in your court that you can't control and do anything to make it a better situation. In that case, reach out to the institution. Let them know that, hey, I am trying to do it. I've submitted this. Or I submitted this at this time, but now it's giving me an error situation. You need to be able to communicate with your schools as much as you can, because you never know. The schools might be more flexible to work with you to hopefully get you funds that you need to get. And so you really need to be advocating for yourself a lot more in this season. This is the opportunity for you to advocate for yourself. And so this is where you need to be able to speak up and be able to go and do that, because the money's not just going to land in your mailbox. You got to work for it. And so that's where you really need to be contacting scholarships or schools to be able to do what you need to do to get as much funds that you may possibly get. And so you really want to make sure you're following up with the schools that there is nothing holding back on your overall funding, because if you have fully completed your process, if you have done everything that you can possibly do, then you really But there's like a hold that might be coming up because they're still waiting for either test scores or a transcript or even just a simple signature. That can really put you on hold from that line, and other people are getting funded and you're not getting funded yet because you need to complete that one little requirement. And so you really need to be looking at your designated schools portals and make sure that you are completing everything you need to be completing and communicating with the schools, which is necessary. Another common problem is that within the state of Texas, there are a lot of different schools that have similar names. So like UT, UT Dallas, UT Arlington, A&M, A&M College Station, Commerce, Corpus Christi, all of the above. It tends to happen sometimes students apply for the wrong school. And so you want to make sure you are applying for the correct school to get funding from that respective school, because schools are not going to fund you money if you're not accepted into their designated school.
Oh no, that'd be the worst. Okay, that's a very good tip. So one of the things you mentioned, begin the process of selecting your future. What school? If not school, then trade. If not that, then military. So kind of expand on that, like where your mindset needs to be right now.
Right. And so certainly seniors, I mean, it's a great opportunity to start really figuring out if this is the path that you want to go towards. Schools, I mean, not there are many different ways to be successful. It's not four-year university. If your four-year university is a great opportunity to be able to get to a good spot, to be able to definitely have more opportunities, but students and other people can be very successful with getting an associate's degree or a vocational or a applied associate's program in their local community college. So Dallas College here in Dallas, Texas, has a lot of great applied associate programs that have a great amount of like vocational or trade type programs to get you in and possibly graduate within a year or two and then go into the workforce to start being able to provide for yourself. You got to look at what are your inherent values of what you want to do. And if you don't want to wait 4 years to go into the workforce and are looking to get into a good pathway where it's like getting a vocational program and then going to work, those are great options. Now, ultimately, if it's not like either going to a university or community college to transfer to a university or a vocational program, consider military. There's definitely an opportunity for you to still do something with outside of high school. It's important that you have to start planning this stuff now, because it's better you figure this stuff out now versus after you're graduated from high school and now everything's like all up in the air. I always say, failure plan is a plan for failure. You need to start planning to figure out what road you're going to start moving towards after high school.
Carlos, great information. Is there anything you want to tell students or parents, caretakers who are watching before we wrap up our FAFSA tips?
Right. So I will definitely say, really, this is the moment to advocate for yourself. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Advocate for yourself. Being able to, if there's something that seems incorrect on your application, or there seems that something's not adding up, or the mathing essentially, go and start seeking clarity in that. No one's gonna really do that for you. And so go and ask questions, go and seek people to clarify things for you. Like Scholarshot's always here to help out any single person who needs that guidance. We want to provide any type of assistance that we can, because we know that there's a need. We know that there's a for lack of a better phrase, like an education gap between learning what it takes to go to college and be successful. And so we want to be a resource. And so we are here to help any single person out. So if you have questions or what you should be doing, or questions about selecting a college or any single thing, we're here to guide you. And just know that as well, like parents and students, be as patient as you can and be proactive. I know that currently in this season, it is a little stressful, and it can be very discouraging when you're dealing with all of these issues and having to hit wall after wall with financial aid or FAFSA application. But don't let that discourage you. Be patient. You got to do this in order for you to get funding to go to school. Otherwise, there will be no funding. But have a good amount of comfort of the fact that you're doing whatever you can do, and that's within your control, and then everything we just gotta wait. And so just make sure that you are making the wisest decision that's best for you. Don't focus on like what different programs are telling you to go towards and whatnot. Like, what is the best option for you, that, and what is the best school that's best for you that fits academically and financially. And that's really what I want to encourage a lot of people to do.
All right. Well, Carlos, I think that's great information. And I'm sure if you found this helpful today, make sure you share this video, like and subscribe to ScholarShot's YouTube channel, because they're always releasing more information. And go to scholarshot.org. That's where you can get in contact, as Carlos mentioned, to be able to get some help and to find additional resources, and always on their social media pages where they're doing stuff like this all the time. Thank you, Carlos, so very much. I'll see you on the next one.